Abortion is the most government-sanctioned, systematically racist practice since slavery. And if such a thing can even be imagined, it's even worse. During the days of slavery, human beings were kept in bondage, forced to work for masters who owned them, abused and oppressed, denied basic human rights simply because of the color of their skin. Today, we simply murder them before they're even born, if they're unwanted, inconvenient, or poor, especially if they're black. And the left praises it as freedom. It's not freedom. It's racist. And the liberals are finally admitting it. The craziest thing about leftists is that they've gotten so radical, so unhinged, that they're finally admitting just how vile and racist they actually are without even realizing they're doing it. This has never been more apparent than this week when a landmark abortion case hit the Supreme Court, signaling the greatest challenge to Roe v. Wade in 3 decades. Dobbs v. Jackson centers on a Mississippi law which prohibits the vast majority of abortions after 15 weeks, which frankly is 15 weeks too late, but hey, got to start somewhere. And abortion lovers are outraged. And when I say abortion lover, I'm not kidding. The group Shout Your Abortion put 3 women on gross display on the steps of the Supreme Court yesterday, chanting while they popped abortion pills like some sort of sick ritual sacrifice.
Abortion! Pills! Forever!
And why should women be able to murder their own babies and then we throw a party over it? Well, because the vast majority of those babies are black and brown. And as we all know, black and brown women are too stupid and poor to be moms, couldn't possibly succeed in life while also having children, and if abortion goes away, they might start to outnumber white folks. These are some of the same arguments leftists made in defense of abortion this week. Here's Ayanna Pressley droning on about how abortion bans primarily affect women of color.
These misguided bans will not actually prevent all abortions. They simply put safe and necessary abortion care out of reach for our most vulnerable, specifically our lowest income sisters, our queer, trans, and non-binary siblings, Black, Latinx, AAPI, immigrants, disabled, and indigenous folks. And none of this is happenstance. It is precise. Like the roots of the anti-abortion movement, these bans are rooted in patriarchy and white supremacy. They perpetuate cycles of poverty and economic inequality and exacerbate many of our starkest health disparities. Enough.
The roots of the anti-abortion movement? Has this moron ever even heard of Margaret Sanger? You realize that pro-lifers are trying to save the lives of black and brown children who are disproportionately targeted for extermination by the abortion industry. We are literally trying to make sure black and brown babies survive and are given a chance at having a life. How on God's green earth is that white supremacy? But you know what is white supremacy? Planned Parenthood being founded by a crazy white lady who thought black folks were an infestation to be dealt with. And that if we just convinced them to murder their own offspring, their population wouldn't get too out of control. But apparently that's not a bad plan, at least according to this blue checkmark on Twitter, who actually said it out loud, tweeting, okay, who's going to be the first to let conservatives know that since people of color are disproportionately high users of abortion, banning abortion will hasten the great replacement. So if we ban abortion, black and brown people will have more babies and might make up a greater percentage of the population. And that's bad? Fine by me, by all means. What kind of a sick freak are you to suggest that more children of color in the world is some kind of drawback? Because we certainly don't think that. Heck, we've been making the argument for years that abortion preys upon minority children and what a horrific tragedy that is. But then again, perhaps killing black children is merciful. At least that's the argument from Imani Gandhi, senior editor for law and policy at Rewire News Group, who pointed out the fact that Mississippi's pro-life attorney general lives on land that used to be a plantation where black slaves would induce abortions or kill their own newborns as an act of mercy. And apparently she thinks that's a good argument for abortion, that killing can be merciful, that murdering a child before they even take a breath is better than giving them a fighting chance at life. Just look at all the slaves who murdered their babies, see? This is the left, Founders of the KKK, backers of slavery, praisers of Margaret Sanger, lovers of an industry that facilitates the targeted extermination of thousands of children, including disproportionately high numbers of black children every single day. They believe a woman cannot be both successful and a mother. They believe that children of poor women should be eliminated. They believe an innocent child is an acceptable sacrifice to live selfishly, especially if they are black. This is the party of death, and you don't have to take my word for it, because they're admitting it. And that's your Reality Check, America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.